Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 129 based on novel. So let's start. Luo Feng sat cross-legged in the Star Tower with the Eye of Birth and Death between his eyebrows open, looking at the origin continent and even looking at the endless chaotic origin airflow outside the origin continent. With one glance, I can see the entire origin world, and even see outside the origin world. Is this the observation ability of a high-level chaotic origin life form? Luo Feng thought. He also had a clear understanding. Although the Eye of Birth and Death was made from the complete corpse of the world-class chaotic origin life form, Birth and Death Pupil Beast, after all, he was using it. His observation ability should be far from the level of a world-class chaotic origin life form. From the many pieces of information in the Infinite Space Treasure House, Luo Feng could judge that the status of the chaotic origin primogenitor, the world-class chaotic origin life form, the high-level chaotic origin life form, and the low-level chaotic origin life form was decreasing in turn. There was a huge difference between the levels. In Luo Feng's opinion, with the observation ability of the world-class chaotic origin life form, the ancestors of the two kingdoms and the ancestor of the East Pole territory should be seen, clearly, without any secrets. Let me, a life form in a cage, have the ability to observe the high-level chaotic origin life form that jumps out of the cage. This Eye of Birth and Death is already a priceless treasure. Luo Feng no longer looked at the outside world but looked at his side. The Eye of Birth and Death between Luo Feng's eyebrows first observed the deep secret patterns of the Star Tower. Boom! Ordinary people on Earth observe with the naked eye, microscope, X-ray. Different methods of observation are different. Similarly, as a second-level God King, with a God Emperor-level spiritual will, Luo Feng originally observed the deep secret patterns of the Star Tower, and the secret patterns observed by the Eye of Birth and Death at this moment are very different. This? Luo Feng was a little surprised when he looked at the Eye of Birth and Death. In his perspective, the deep secret patterns of the Star Tower exist in multiple time and space levels at the same time, like a magnificent time and space building. The time in the innermost layer of this building is still. The blood-red scales are always at a fixed time point. Time is locked, indestructible and unchanging. No matter how long the outside world has passed, the blood-red scales are still as they were at the beginning. It's so beautiful. Luo Feng watched. The edge was covered with 12-color blood-red scales, indestructible and eternal. Time and space collapsed into a fixed point. From the core point outward, space gradually unfolded. As space unfolded and took shape, time began to flow slowly. These secret patterns operated and existed in each timeline that was constantly flowing. To see different spaces, it generally requires a very high level of the origin of space. To see different timelines, it also requires a very high level of the time path. But Luo Feng's Eye of Birth and Death could easily see all of this, and even some very secret information could not escape prying. In my previous years, I comprehended 9 kinds of 8-branch fusion moves. Luo Feng shook his head gently. Now it seems that my vision is too shallow. My moves also have too many weaknesses. Luo Feng flipped his hand and ate a chaotic origin crystal as if he was eating candy, and then focused on the research of the deep secret patterns of the Star Tower. The knowledge system I have accumulated on the 3 paths of life, destruction, and birth and death needs to be reorganized. Luo Feng began to study. The Eye of Birth and Death only assists Luo Feng, allowing him to see some information that high-level chaotic origin life form can easily see. But how to analyze this information? How to study it thoroughly? Then integrate it into your own path and make it a part of your own great Tao? These require understanding. This is also the reason why Senior Yuan and his team have selected many of the world's top talents. If you don't have enough talent, it would be a waste if you give them resources. The first 12 exchanges of the Eye of Birth and Death were also considered to have high talents, but their achievements were very ordinary. For Yuan and his team, becoming a world-class chaotic origin life form is worth rejoicing. As for having one more high-level chaotic origin life form, it's not worth mentioning. Luophone came to the origin continent and reached his current realm in just 800 epochs. There is no doubt that his talent far exceeds that of the strong men of the origin continent. The holy land of the Thunder Ancient Kingdom, Thunder Mountain, the ancient space where the ancestor lived in seclusion. I have obtained 6 special life-form remains in the depths of the Dream Realm and the Heavenly Pillar Realm. I sold them one by one over the long years, and now there is only one left. The Thunder Ancestor looked at a golden finger bone in front of him. In each era of the origin continent, I trained monarchs to help me collect treasures. All kinds of rare treasures, all kinds of secret treasures. It also helped me reach the perfect God Emperor. The Thunder Ancestor's eyes were cold. I have watched the high-level chaotic origin life-form prisoners many times. I even started to decompose their corpses. I have done it with the strong men of many worlds. But how to achieve the ultimate awakening? I still have no idea. The Thunder Ancestor looked at the golden finger bone in front of him. This was the last special life wreckage, and it was also the most important one to him. He looked at the golden finger bone, and his spiritual consciousness penetrated. He could see the thunder secret pattern contained in the golden finger bone, and he could vaguely see a towering behemoth. Senior Yuan once told me that my breakthrough opportunity lies in this finger bone. As long as I understand a little bit, I can achieve the ultimate awakening. The Thunder Ancestor was quite frustrated. The Thunder Ancestor was in pain. It's right in front of me, but I have studied it for several eras and I am still confused. In fact, the Thunder Ancestor had long discovered that his comprehension was weak. It took him dozens of times longer than the Flame Wind Ancestor to reach the ultimate realm. He couldn't even comprehend the Tao of the God Emperor realm. So he gave up the lineage of the Enlightened Ones and turned to the Chaotic Origin bloodline. Chaotic Origin bloodline is indeed quite easy, as long as the potential of the bloodline can be tapped, with time and resources plus some opportunities. Hard to get to this point today. We are all perfect God Emperors. Those most terrifying beings can destroy me with one palm. The Thunder Ancestor is very clear about the gap. Perfect God Emperor is the half-chaotic origin level. The gap between them may still be very large. Perfect God Emperors like those of the Enlightened Ones are naturally much stronger. Among the billions of world powerhouses, there are even more amazing ones. They can push more than one path to the half-chaotic origin level. There are even those who begin to merge different half-chaotic origin paths, and there are even beings who can tap into the power of world-class chaotic origin bloodline. Those beings are truly amazing. Among those beings, there are those who have jumped out of their cages and become high-level chaotic origin life form. It is even said that there are those who have jumped out of their cages and become world-class chaotic origin life form. Compared with those beings, the Thunder Ancestor is just an inconspicuous member standing in the corner. I have no idea at all. The Thunder Ancestor looked at the finger bone in front of him, calmed down, and continued to study and ponder carefully. On Thunder Mountain, the two monarchs met. White Demon, you are so brave. The holy-looking man with blue and white scales all over his body and 3 scaly tails looked at the white-skinned old man beside him with dissatisfaction. In addition to some small marginal kingdoms, you actually sent your men to some wilderness areas in our Thunder Ancient Kingdom to capture tribes one by one. Monarch Land Duo, you can find this. The monarch White Demon smiled. The men I sent out were very careful. They were scattered in various chaotic states in the Thunder Ancient Kingdom and made very little noise. Other monarchs didn't notice it, but you did. Monarch Land Duo frowned. It's fine to attack some marginal kingdoms, but why did you attack our ancient kingdom? In the future, the entire origin continent will be destroyed, and almost all the creatures in the Thunder Ancient Kingdom will die. Monarch White Demon said indifferently, in that case, what's the big deal if I capture some creatures in some wilderness areas of our Thunder Ancient Kingdom? Land Duo, you also know that the Milky Way Kingdom has occupied a large area of territory. The territory suitable for us to plunder is getting less and less, and you also sent your men to plunder. After thinking about it, I can only attack the interior of our ancient kingdom. White Demon laughed. The interior of our ancient kingdom is large enough. As long as it doesn't cause a big commotion, no one will care. Monarch Land Duo looked at his companion. He was jealous. You can also join in. White Demon laughed. Make a small move. Monarch Land Duo said, don't attack any big city. As for the wilderness area, we will split it up, each occupying half of the chaos state, and the cumulative number of creatures plundered cannot exceed 1/10 of the wilderness area. You are still ruthless. I plundered far less than 1/10. Monarch White Demon laughed. The two monarchs of the Thunder Ancient Kingdom, Monarch Land Duo and Monarch White Demon, have always been very careful when sending their men to plunder. Moreover, there have been conflicts and wars in various parts of the origin continent. In a short period of time, even the interior of the Thunder Ancient Kingdom did not notice any problems. However, as time slowly passed, especially the looting in the entire Thunder Ancient Kingdom, which eventually caused many chain reactions. After all, the tribes in the wilderness area also had tribes hunting outside, and some tribes settled in large cities. So the looting of tribes one by one still caused many survivors to investigate, and the investigation became more and more intense, and the royal God King began to get involved. Milky Way God Kingdom, the capital. What a courage! Emperor Guishu looked at the information in his hand and was furious. He looked at the Wuxin God King on the side. Wuxin, are you sure the information you collected is correct? You know my ability to escape. Wuxin God King sneered. The Thunder Ancient Kingdom has begun to make a fuss. Originally, the royal God Kings of the Thunder Ancient Kingdom began to investigate the matter in anger, but then there was no follow-up, and I knew something was wrong. I am also very curious, who is so bold? This kind of looting, on the one hand, offends the Thunder Ancient Kingdom, on the other hand, it also offends the Milky Way Kingdom Lord. I was curious, and I checked carefully. It turned out to be the internal thief of the Thunder Ancient Kingdom. The Wuxin God King shook his head. I have traced those eternal true gods who are responsible for the looting to the Monarch White Demon and the Land Duo. The subordinates of these two monarchs are not only looting in the Thunder Ancient Kingdom but also in some small marginal kingdoms. The looting has lasted for about 70 epochs. Last for 70 epochs? Emperor Guishu was furious. Such a long time and large-scale looting, they don't take my master seriously at all. I will report to the king now. Emperor Guishu immediately got up and left. The Wuxin God King watched this scene, and he was also furious during the investigation, but he couldn't afford to provoke the monarchs of the Thunder Ancient Kingdom. I don't know how the Milky Way Kingdom Lord will deal with this matter. The Wuxin God King thought. The Emperor Guishu has a high status in the Milky Way God Kingdom. He met Morosa at the first time and reported the matter. Inside the palace. What? Morosa was also very angry when he got the news. What a Monarch White Demon and the Monarch Land Duo, they did this and didn't take my master seriously at all. Master, master. Morosa immediately sent a telepathic message to Luo Feng. The cultivation rankings of the chaotic origin life forms on the fandom wiki are quite messy, which is not in line with the novel explanation and Chinese Baidu. Therefore I made a table here which is a simplified version of Chinese Baidu based on the novel. Chaotic origin life forms. It is a level for those who have jumped out of the origin world and existed in the vast and infinite chaotic origin dimension. The next step for bloodline cultivators is to break the ultimate bloodline and achieve the ultimate awakening. For those who are enlightenment cultivators can go next step further from the half-chaotic origin level with comprehend the Tao at the chaotic origin level, which is a complete step to heaven, and he will become the powerful chaotic origin life forms. There are only 4 levels in the chaotic origin life forms level, and each level has no sub-levels, such as early, middle, late stage etc. Chaotic origin life forms levels. Chaotic origin life forms level chaotic origin life forms. Innate chaotic origin life forms, they have lower intelligence equivalent to that of the true gods of the origin continent. Their intelligence is too low to tap the potential of their bloodlines. Although they are born to jump out of the cage, their strength is only at the level of God Emperor and not considered as chaotic origin expert. High-level chaotic origin life forms, it's a qualitative transformation. A single foot can kill hundreds of millions of low-level chaotic origin life forms, and a breath can turn low-level chaotic origin life forms into ashes. High-level chaotic origin lifeforms belongs to the most common level among the chaotic origin experts in the vast chaotic origin dimension. World-level chaotic origin lifeforms and innate chaotic origin lifeforms that reach the world level is called a world-level chaotic origin lifeforms, and a cultivator who managed to control the origin world is called a world-level chaotic origin expert. Overlord, the highest level of the chaotic origin expert, are not bound by the supreme rules, and their life level is pushed up to the highest level, maximizing their strength in battle. Huyang City, in the quiet room of the City Lord's mansion, in the space of the Star Tower. Since obtaining the Eye of Birth and Death, Luo Feng has seen a different world. He has comprehensively sorted out his knowledge system, and each secret method is being perfected. Master, Master. Morosa telepathically transmitted. Luo Feng slowly opened his eyes and temporarily stopped practicing. Morosa, what's the matter? Morosa didn't dare to disturb him unless it was something big enough. Master, the Monarch White Demon and the Monarch Land duo of the Thunder Ancient Kingdom secretly sent their men to quietly plunder some marginal kingdoms and the territory of the Thunder Ancient Kingdom for about 70 epochs. Morosa telepathically transmitted, 70 epochs. The cumulative number of lives plundered is also a very large number. Luo Feng frowned slightly. The last time he took action, he mainly killed the top 10 sinners in the origin continent, such as the royal god king, emperors, and monarchs of the two ancient kingdoms, who hid in the capital's nest or in Thunder Mountain. Luo Feng had no choice at the time, so he chose to lure the snake out of the hole and lead out Emperor Yuan. Kill an Emperor Yuan to shock the origin continent. Since the establishment of the Milky Way God Kingdom, I have never taken action again for more than 370 epochs. Luo Feng said softly, as long as you don't commit serious sins, I will forgive you. Who would have thought that I still have such a good temper? Forgiving the past was also a tacit understanding between the Milky Way God Kingdom and the two ancient kingdoms at that time. After all, Luo Feng could not do anything to the ancestors of flame, wind and thunder, and he had to take a step back in many things. Master, you have such a good temper. If you ask me, you should patrol the origin continent frequently and kill the serious sinners you find. Morosa said, Master, you are very busy in cultivation. You can leave this kind of patrol of the origin continent to me. Kill one when you find a serious sin. Kill them frequently. Kill these serious sinners so that they will be scared. Morosa said, those emperors and monarchs will not dare to take chances. What you said makes sense. Luo Feng asked, by the way, how did you find out about this matter? It was the detailed information reported by Guishu Emperor. I sent it to you. Morosa immediately sent the complete information. Luo Feng checked it. What detailed information? Such detailed intelligence is not like the style of Guishu Emperor. Buzz. Luo Feng opened the Eye of Birth and Death between his eyebrows and looked at the capital of the Milky Way God Kingdom. He saw Guishu Emperor at a glance and also saw Wuxin God King in the cave of Guishu Emperor. Is this matter related to Wuxin God King? Luo Feng thought. Wuxin God King was cautious and had great means of hiding. He was able to find out such detailed information. Of course, Luo Feng would not believe this information completely. If anyone came to complain, he would just believe it. Then he would become a knife used by others. The information records the names of some important subordinates of the Monarch White Demon and the Monarch Land duo. When Luo Feng saw these names, he had a cause and effect, and with the help of the Eye of Birth and Death, he instantly locked onto the targets one by one. Luo Feng's Eye of Birth and Death locked on a target more clearly than the target locked by the general ultimate realm of God King. Jiuchen God King. Luo Feng locked on a first-level God King. Jiuchen God King was also the most core backbone responsible for looting under the command of the Monarch Land duo. I knew that I shouldn't rob in the territory of the Thunder Ancient Kingdom. But the monarch forced me to do it. Jiuchen God King was very anxious in his cave. It has been 70 epochs of robbing. The accumulated robbing is too much and the impact is too great. Many royal Shenwang have traced this matter. It is no longer a secret within the royal family that the Monarch White Demon and the Blue Monarch sent their men to rob, and even robbed in the territory of the Thunder Ancient Kingdom. It's just that this matter is a huge scandal which has been suppressed temporarily. The royal family can't do anything to the two monarchs, but I'm in trouble. The Jiuchen Shenwang was very uneasy. Suddenly, a terrifying wave descended and instantly enveloped the Jiuchen God King. The Jiuchen God King felt muddled and confused, and had no ability to resist. Wherever Luo Feng's eye of birth and death looks, the will of the mind will descend. As Luo Feng's understanding of the Great Tao deepened, his spiritual will was also slowly improving. When it was 50% higher than the threshold of the God Emperor, the strength of Luo Feng's spiritual will touch the upper limit of the origin continent. Although the spiritual will can still be improved slowly now, it can no longer exert a stronger power in the origin continent. Lai Yuan technique, in addition to killing the enemy, also has some secret methods such as suppressing the enemy and confusing the enemy. However, in the past, Luo Feng usually used killing moves to completely kill the enemy. At this moment, Luo Feng's spiritual will made the Jiuchen God King confused and unable to resist. He is confused and has no ability to resist, but I can check his memory. Luo Feng thought. Under the clear consciousness. Even Luo Feng's eye of birth and death can only see the clearest thoughts of the Jiuchen God King and cannot look through his memory. But his consciousness is confused and he has no ability to resist. Luo Feng easily observes the memory. This is the observation ability possessed by the high-level chaotic origin life form. He was indeed sent by Monarch Lan Duo. Luo Feng checked and couldn't help but feel murderous. He is Monarch Lan Duo's most loyal henchman, and he is fully responsible for looting. There are fewer lootings in marginal kingdoms, after all, the territory is relatively small. The wilderness area of the Thunder Ancient Kingdom is divided into two by Lando and the Monarch White Demon. In the past 70 epochs, the cumulative looting of creatures should be about 1/20th of the creatures in the wilderness area. 1/20th? Luo Feng was shocked. The Thunder Ancient Kingdom, an ancient kingdom, may be equivalent to several first-class kingdoms in terms of scope. However, as the most core and prosperous place on the origin continent, the number of creatures bred here is far beyond some marginal kingdoms. In the Thunder Ancient Kingdom, more than 90% of the creatures are in the wilderness area. Only a few can enter the city. And the creatures in the wilderness area, these two monarchs have plundered about 1/20th of them in total? What a huge number of creatures! The wilderness area is vast and the tribes are scattered everywhere, so it is difficult to count the total number. But after all, the Jiuchen God King is in charge of this matter under the command of Monarch Lan Duo. Based on the total data, he can still guess a rough proportion. In his memory, there are even detailed memories of the number of plundered creatures. In the memory of this God King Jiuchen, there are memories of sending plundered creatures to Monarch Lan Duo again and again. The scale of each delivery is in the unit of trillions of creatures. The total amount of continuous delivery for 70 epochs made Luo Feng tremble in his heart. Compared with Monarch Lan Duo, the Qian Kuan is simply not worth mentioning. When a monarch of an ancient kingdom goes crazy, it's really terrible. Luo Feng murmured. The Iron Raw Demon Lord who was the most sinful in the origin continent was backed by Emperor Yuan. Emperor Yuan should also be the one who plundered the most creatures in the origin continent. Even if Master Emperor Chu and others joined forces to rescue him, Luo Feng still did not hesitate and still killed Emperor Yuan. The Black Vulture ancestor, who was the second most sinful at the time, was backed by several monarchs of the Thunder Ancient Kingdom, and Monarch Lan Duo might be one of them. A dog can't change its nature. The monarchs of the Thunder Ancient Kingdom who like to devour living creatures without the help of the Black Vulture ancestor actually attack their own ancient kingdom. Luo Feng looked at Thunder Mountain with the eye of birth and death between his eyebrows. Boom tilde tilde tilde. Majestic. Huge. Unshakable. As the first holy place in the entire origin continent, even the Thunder ancestor has a clone living here, and monarchs like Monarch Lan Duo, Monarch White Demon, etc. also live here. What a great Thunder Mountain. Luo Feng looked at it with the eye of birth and death, and saw more mysteries of Thunder Mountain, and could also glimpse the strengths and weaknesses of Thunder Mountain. Thunder Mountain is powerful, but with my current strength, combined with the Star Tower and the Eye of Birth and Death, I can break it. Luo Feng looked from afar, looking at the terrifying figure in a secret space on Thunder Mountain, but the reason why Thunder Mountain is so scary is that the Thunder Ancestor lives in it. Luo Feng's eye of birth and death broke through the obstacles of Thunder Mountain, space, and formation, and saw the real body of Thunder Ancestor. What a terrifying body! His body is much stronger than that of Flame Wind Ancestor. Luo Feng could observe some of the other party's details. A body that is so powerful that it is unimaginable. If it was in the outside world, without the suppression of the power of the origin continent, the Thunder Ancestor would probably be able to crush the secret treasures left by Emperor Yuan with just one hand. Although I can see his weaknesses, the Thunder Ancestor just sits there and allows me to attack. Under the power restrictions of the origin continent, I can't hurt him at all. If he wants to protect Thunder Mountain, I can't break it either. Luo Feng understood this. If the Monarchs were to control the Thunder Mountain, he could break through it. The Thunder Ancestor would personally take action. No hope. By the same token, he had to protect Huyang City and the Milky Way capital, and the ancestors of the two kingdoms could not break through. In the origin continent, Luo Feng, the ancestor of the East Pole territory, Emperor Qing, and the ancestors of the two kingdoms were all helpless against each other. Even if they had the upper hand, they could not hurt each other. Everyone was helpless against each other, and they also needed to compromise with each other. Luo Feng killed Emperor Yuan, and the ancestor of Yang Feng did not come to see Luo Feng, just as if this incident had not happened, and endured it. The royal god king had also committed many sins in the past, and Luo Feng also endured it. Both sides had a tacit understanding. But the tacit understanding between the two sides was broken by the Monarch Land duo and the Monarch White Demon. The two of them must die. Luo Feng couldn't suppress his murderous intent when he saw the batches of plundering creatures in the memory of the Jiochen God King. This kind of scum must not live. Thunder Mountain, in the secret space. The Thunder Ancestor was still observing the golden finger bone, pondering and studying it carefully, when suddenly, Thunder Ancestor. A voice sounded in the Thunder Ancestor's ear. The Thunder Ancestor was startled and his face changed drastically. Impossible. The Thunder Ancestor couldn't believe it. This is Thunder Mountain. Thunder Mountain is the God Emperor level cave treasure I personally refined. I also personally opened up a secret space and arranged the formation. Even Flame Wind used the communication treasure to contact me. Thunder Ancestor, I am Milky Way. Luo Feng's voice sounded. There was a faint thunder and lightning in the Thunder Ancestor's eyes. Before, he didn't pay much attention to the Milky Way Kingdom Lord, thinking that he might just be a junior who had just entered the early stage God Emperor. But at this moment, he didn't dare to be careless at all. Being able to break through the many obstacles of the cave treasure, space, and formation, and transmit the sound to his ears, this method is a bit too terrifying. It seems that I underestimated the Milky Way Kingdom Lord. The Thunder Ancestor said. Thunder Ancestor, do you know that the Monarch White Demon and the Monarch Land duo have been plundering the lives of the ancient Thunder Kingdom for 70 epochs, and the total number of lives plundered has exceeded billions. Luo Feng said. The Thunder Ancestor was shocked. Billions? Even for the ancient Thunder Kingdom, reaching this level is still a huge number of lives. After I killed Emperor Yuan, I didn't kill again. As long as the practitioners of the origin continent don't commit serious sins again, I won't pursue the past. But White Demon and Land duo did this, and they didn't take me seriously at all. Luo Feng's voice rang in the ears of the Thunder Ancestor. Of course, they are the monarchs of the ancient Thunder Kingdom. How to deal with them is naturally decided by the Ancestor. Luo Feng transmitted the voice. I will investigate this matter and confirm it. The Thunder Ancestor responded, and then smiled. The strength of the Milky Way Kingdom is unpredictable. After solving this matter, I, Flame Wind, and you, the three of us will get together. Okay. Luo Feng responded, and then stopped transmitting the voice, and closed the Eye of Birth and Death, and stopped spying on Thunder Mountain. This video will end here.